Welcome everyone. This is exciting. This is our third workshop event here in the Data Entrepreneurs Discord community. This is actually our third workshop ever, and I'm really excited about this. Seems like a lot of interest in this particular subject, which is a beginner's guide to cloud computing, given by Josh Spruchman. And so before we kind of get into it, I know, this stage channel might be a new experience for a lot of people. So I just wanted to just run through a couple important things that you'll be using as audience members. The first thing is the chat. So if you look at the top right corner of your screen, you'll see a little chat bubble, chat box kind of thing. If you're in the audience, go ahead and click on that and open up the chat and drop something in there. This is going to be a way you can ask Josh questions without interrupting the flow of the presentation and the demo. So we got things coming in the chat now. Another important thing we have is the opportunity to raise your hand and be invited to the stage to ask your question to the speaker or say whatever you like. So for that, you should see a hand icon in the bottom of your screen. So if you're in the audience, go ahead and click that just so you can see where that is. And once you click on that, you can get invited onto the stage to speak. So I'm just going to pick on Sean here. He's requested to speak, so I'm going to invite him up to the stage. Hello, Sean. Welcome. And just like that, we can move him back to the audience. Okay, so that's just kind of the housekeeping stuff, logistics. Now I'll kind of introduce our speaker, which is Josh Spruchman, who all of you in the audience I should know. Josh brings a tremendous amount of cloud and IT experience. He's been working in IT for, I don't know, I want to say more than 6 years now. He's been a one-man show at a professional services company here in Dallas called Capitalize Analytics that provides data and analytics solutions to enterprise clients. So he's been worked in almost every aspect of IT and cloud that you can imagine. So I think we're gonna all learn a lot from Josh here. So without any further ado, I'm gonna hand it over to you, Josh, and you can give us a beginner's guide to cloud computing.
Perfect. Shine, appreciate it. Thank you for giving me the time to talk. So let me share my PowerPoint. Got a very beautiful one for you guys. Alrighty, just to test it out a little bit. Everyone can see me going to the next slide, correct?
Yeah, we can see it.
Beautiful. Alrighty. And let's get started. So as Shine was saying, I'm Joshua Spruchman. 6 years IT. Cloud is something that in recent years, I've become, more knowledgeable and something that I'm kind of searching to increase, my knowledge of. And cloud computing is something that I've kind of found out to be very enjoyable because it's something that probably a lot of companies, if not most companies, tend to use. So I kind of wanted to throw out a question to the audience while we start. So cloud computing, when you hear that, what is the first thing that you think of, or what comes to mind when you hear cloud computing? And I do have a third monitor so I can see everyone's answers. AWS, that's a good one. Virtualization of servers, yep. Computers on the cloud, exactly, yeah. Perfect. Yeah, those are great. So I'm going to go to the next slide here. So the intro of what is cloud computing, this little snippet is actually from AWS. I just kind of added those Azure and Google Cloud Platform at the end there. But AWS's definition for cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT resources over the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. Instead of buying, owning, and maintaining physical data centers and servers, you can access technology services such as computer power, storage, databases, on an as needed basis, and that's the big part of cloud computing is everything is as needed, and you can use providers such as AWS or Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform, and those are the main three providers for AW or for cloud computing. Um, and to kind of simplify it a little bit, I kind of came up with a little, seeing as how it's 12 o'clock and it's lunchtime, we're all probably hungry. Um, Imagine that you love pizza, and I know that's going to be a little tough, but just imagine. And let's say you want a pizza, but you don't have an oven at home to make one. You don't have the ingredients, so instead of buying all the ingredients and making it yourself, you decide to order it from a restaurant. Um, Now, when you order a pizza, you don't have to worry about the dough. You don't have to worry about the toppings, cooking it in the oven. The restaurant takes care of all of that for you. They have a big, kitchen with all the ingredients and the equipment. So in this example, the pizza restaurant is the cloud service provider. They have the kitchen, they have the resources, they have the ability to make those pizzas. Just like a cloud provider has big data centers with server storage and networks. Um, so I also wanted to go over the main three again, which are AWS, Azure, and GCP or Google Cloud. Um, the majority, I believe it was around 30 or 40% of cloud users are actually on AWS. Um, the next highest would be Azure, which I believe is around 20, 30 maybe. And then Google Cloud Platform is around 10% of cloud users. And there are other ones out there, but these are the main three again. Um, oops. So, like I was saying, AWS is the market leader for cloud computing, um, and then Azure, and then GCP. So now we are going to talk about deployment of models of cloud computing. So we've got public cloud, we've got private, hybrid, and community. So the differences between those three, public is exactly what it sounds like. It's a public cloud infrastructure that is owned and operated by like a third-party, cloud service provider, and it's accessible to the public. The benefits of using a public cloud would be minimal investment, so you don't have to, there's not a lot of cost to it. It's basically pay per use, so you're only paying for what you use. There's no additional setup costs, anything like that. You don't have to manage your own infrastructure. You don't have to have your own servers, anything like that. There's no maintenance, anything like that. And you have the ability to scale. The disadvantages of public cloud are because it's public, it's less secure. There's also not as much customization compared to private, hybrid, and community. So next up is private cloud. Private cloud, exactly what it sounds like. It's a private cloud, is cloud infrastructure that is dedicated to a single organization, is not accessible to the public. So the benefits of using a private cloud are you have better control over all your services, your integrations, policies, and all the behaviors of your cloud. It's also more secure, and you have privacy to it as opposed to public. And customization on it is a lot easier than the public cloud. The disadvantages of private cloud are that it is less scalable. You still can, it's just that it's a little harder to do, and it's kind of a certain range. The other thing about private cloud is that it's costly, because they provide personalized facilities for your cloud, so it's a little different than public, where anybody can access anything. Hybrid cloud now, as it sounds, it's kind of a hybrid between public and private. So it's combination between those two infrastructures. The benefits of using a hybrid cloud are the flexibility and the control from hybrid. So basically, you can design personalized solutions that meet whatever your needs are. Um, the cost is better than private, but it's not as good as public. And you also get that added security that private gives you that public doesn't. Um, the disadvantages of using a hybrid cloud is it's a little more difficult to manage. Um, it's like you're managing two different clouds at the same time, and then the data transmission is a little slower just because it's doing um, it takes place through a public cloud, so the latency is going to be a little more. Um, and the last one up is the community cloud. Now, community cloud is what it sounds like. It's cloud infrastructure that's shared by a group of organizations with this similar needs for the cloud. The benefits of that again are going to be the cost effectiveness because it is a shared community of multiple organizations, that kind of thing. It's also going to be more secure compared to public again. Um, and then the disadvantages are the scalability again is going to be a little limited, and it's a little harder to customize just because multiple users, multiple organizations, things like that are going to be using it. So it's a little harder to kind of to change up. You know. Now, cloud service model. So a lot of people they might actually already know IaaS, PaaS, SaaS. Um, but for this reason, let's go over them again just in case. So IaaS, and I'm going to start with IaaS just because it's kind of the base. So if we look at this pyramid, we can see that as it goes up, it gets lower and lower, and that kind of signifies what you're having to manage. So as you go from IaaS to PaaS to SaaS, your management of what you're having to manage basically goes down, and the cloud will take care of more of that. So let's start with infrastructure again. So this is the basic form of cloud computing. Is involves renting resources like servers, storage, so EC2, S3, and networking from a cloud provider. Um, the second highest is going to be PaaS or Platform as a Service. And this is type of cloud computing provides a platform for developers to build, deploy, and manage like their applications. And last but not least, we've got software as a service or SaaS. This type of cloud computing allows users to access a software application that's over the internet without needing to like install anything on their machine. So we can see from the pyramid here, if we start at IaaS, we've got things like StackScale, AWS, Azure. We've got VMware. You can also it's also Google platform, their cloud computing. PaaS, we've got things like Flynn, Cloud Foundry, Heroku, OpenShift, and then finally SaaS, we've got your like email tools. You've got Gmail, Trello, Slack, Office 365. So anything that you can use online without having to download anything. And I've got another little image here. So as I was saying with the pyramid, you've got IaaS, and you can see all the things you'll have to manage yourself, and then all the other things that the cloud or the platform will manage for you. And you see as you get to PaaS and SaaS, it gets easier and easier compared to on-premise where you will be handling everything yourself, which is not fun. So you're probably thinking, why would I want to use the cloud? And the reason of why actually goes back to before you had the cloud. So before the cloud, you had to have your own servers, and having your own servers is very expensive. What a server is basically is having your own servers. It's basically just a big ass warehouse full of big ass computers. Um, and you're having to pay for the upkeep of those. You're having to pay for the labor for the building itself, any damage is done. So a lot of money goes into owning your own. Um, and the benefit of cloud is that you don't have to worry about any of that. Um, and other reasons are the scalability of cloud, your cost savings, accessibility, security, and collaboration. So scalability, what that is with cloud computing, it allows a business to scale their resources based off of what is needed. So you can easily, so if you have a server that you're running and you're adding uh, too many files to it or something like that, and your hard drive for it is almost full, all you have to do is add, another terabyte, which is super easy. Um, and like that, you'll be able to see that on the server instantly. Uh, cost savings. Oops. The cost savings, like I said, you don't have to pay for any of the infrastructure of the building, the labor, the upkeep, anything like that. Um, and the good thing about cloud computing is you're paying for what you use. So in the demonstration that we're going to be doing today, we're going to set up a EC2 instance, and with EC2, there are a lot of people that um, don't necessarily need a server up the entire time. So you'll only be paying, let's say Monday through Friday, you need the servers up, and Saturday and Sunday you don't need them. So you're going to be only paying for Monday through Friday while the servers are up, and when they're off, you're all good. You're not paying. Um, Now the accessibility, the cloud computing makes it very easy for users to access all the applications and um, all of the data from anywhere. Uh, as long as you have internet connection, and kind of an example of that would be something like OneDrive, SharePoint, um, the iCloud, Google Cloud, or Google Drive, where you can save everything from your where you can save everything on your computer basically to your OneDrive or any of those other technologies. Um, and let's say your device is lost or stolen, you get a new computer, you sign into those, and you see everything that's been saved on your PC, and it makes it a lot easier. Uh, Next, security. So cloud computing provides better security measures in places for small businesses, uh, and it can improve the overall security of um, like an organization's data, that kind of thing. So, and then also collaboration. So, like I said before with SharePoint, you save things through SharePoint. That's something the entire company can access and kind of work on together. And you are, easily able to invite users, invite friends, anything like that. So now we come up to our demo. So in this demo, we're actually going to be going over the free tier account. We're not going to get it created just because you do need. It's super easy to create one. Um, all you need is a credit card. You're not able to use a prepaid. I've tried like 7 different ones, um, but you'll get that free tier created. And let's actually look at what a free tier has. So everyone's able to see this now. Is that correct? The AWS free tier on their website. Perfect. So AWS free tier is exactly what it sounds like. It is a free version of AWS. They have 3 different types of offers. So they've got free trials, which could be, a week, 2 week, anything like that, to 12 months to always free. And if we scroll down on this page, and this page is just, you just Google AWS free tier, I'm going to come here. So when we scroll down, we'll actually see all the different tools and the tier that they're part of. So if they're part of that free um, trial, if it's always free, or if it's the 12 months, and then you'll see what you'll be able to do with it. So you can see on here compute, which is EC2, which is servers. You'll see that you have 750 hours per month for 12 months or a year, and so on and so forth. So for storage, you only get 5 gigs for a year, and that's S3. And then you got the rest here. So now, oops. So again, what we're going to be doing in this is we've already created our free tier account. We're going to set up a budget for our account just to make sure that we aren't going to go uh, accidentally do something that charges us. Setting up a budget will send you an email if, in our case, we're going to set up for $1. So if you accidentally spend $1 on your free tier, it's going to send you an email, let you know that you're above your threshold. After we look at budgets, we're going to go ahead and create an EC2 or an Elastic Compute Cloud instance. We're going to talk about regions, and then we're going to remote into the server that we just created. And this is going to be for Windows only. So if you have a Mac, that's what you get. So this right here is the AWS console. This is what AWS looks like. And you can see at the top here, you have search, and then you got services. So if we hit services, you'll be able to see everything on the left-hand side, depending on what you're needing. Compute, again, that's kind of services. Or I'm sorry, that's kind of servers. Databases, developer tools, anything like that. We're going to hit all servers, all services, and here we'll be able to see, everything and anything that AWS offers. And you see, it's a lot. I'd be very surprised if there was someone who knew what every single one of these does. It's usually based off of what you need. If you're only building servers and storing things, you'll only use compute, EC2 and S3, that kind of stuff. You're not going to use anything else. So for this, you can see I already have EC2 here because I've recently visited it. But if you haven't, you just come to this search, you'll type in EC2, and you'll see anything related to EC2. You'll also see a little star here. And what you can do is you actually click that, and then you'll see in the top left, it kind of adds it to like your favorites. So we're going to open, or actually, yeah. So what we're going to do first is create the budget. So in the top right-hand side, you're going to see your username. Mine's Ninja Nighthawk because I don't want to talk about it. You'll click your username. You'll go to Billing Dashboard. And Billing Dashboard is very important. It's going to show you billing for everything that you have. So there's things called regions, which there are tools that are region specific, and we'll get into that a little later when we look at EC2. But you can see here in the top right, it says global. So this is going to be for your entire AWS anything. It's going to show your budget for everything. So on the left-hand side, you'll see budgets under home. We're going to click budgets. You can see I've already created one, and it's super easy. We just hit create budget in the top right. You can either use a template, which is the easier version, or you can customize. We're just going to keep it very simple. So we're going to use a template, and the template that we're going to use is this 0 spend budget. So we don't want to spend anything when we're using our free tier. So we'll click that. We will name it 1, and then who we want it to email. So I'll do my Yahoo account. Create budget, and easy peasy. So you'll see here my 0 spend budget 1 is what we just created. It's all good, and the budget is set to $1. So if we spend anything more than $1, it's going to send that email address a message saying, you've spent this much on your free tier of AWS, that kind of thing. So it's always good to set something like that up. Another thing when you are setting up your account for the first time is it's going to create something called a root account. The root account is basically, it has no restrictions, absolutely none, for your account, for your AWS account. So we want to make sure the best practice is actually to go to IAM, which IAM is kind of like your Active Directory kind of thing, where you can create users, you can set up groups, anything like that. So the best thing is, first off, is to create an MFA. We're not going to go into that now, but whenever you create your first account, it's just going to pop up right here saying, you're not no MFA is on, anything like that. You just click the little button. You'll download an app, and it will walk you through very simply how to set up MFA. but the best practice is to actually go to users. We're not going to set up the user just now, but you want to set up a admin account, and you want to work off that admin account, just because if anything happens to your root account, um, if it gets, the password gets stolen, anything like that, and anyone's in it, it has access to everything. So a lot of companies, they have AWS account, but they also have accounts under that. So you can have an account for clients that you're working with. Let's say you're hosting, um, their AWS stuff, and you have, different accounts that you want to access. The global or the root account has access to all of that. Um, so that's why it's best not to work off your root account and create an admin account, and work off of that. That's just best practice. So now let's get to the good part. We're going to create EC2 Instance. And again, AWS is very good at making things simple for the most part. There's always an explanation on what you're doing. They'll kind of walk you through. There's always an easy version or an advanced version if you want to kind of fine tune your own servers. Um, so before we create that server, actually, we look in the top left. And remember how under when we were creating our budget, it said global. So EC2 is actually a tool that is based off of region. So you want to make sure you're in the correct region. So you'll see here I have an instance already created in North Virginia. That's called our AWS Windows Test Server. So let's say I remember, I created another server, I can't find it. Well, again, EC2 is region specific. So we're going to go into Ohio, and we're going to look for, if we created an instance, it'll be here. And I think for this, we're going to create our instance in Ohio. We're going to create it in Ohio. So first step is to launch your instance, and that's going to see, you're going to see that in the top right, launch instance. And again, AWS makes it super simple. All we're doing is naming the server, picking our OS, picking the specs for the server itself, and because it's a free trial, it's going to be very bad, but it's free. So let's go ahead and name this test server. Oopsie. 2. Then we're going to pick our operating system, and we're going to do Windows. So you've got access to Linux, Mac, Ubuntu, Red Hat, all this other stuff. And then you'll also notice this browse more AMIs. So let's go ahead and click that. And this is where you can see everything and anything on, which server or operating system you want to create. So I want to do, Windows. So we're going to do micro. That brings up everything from Microsoft. And it will tell you which is free. So free tier eligible, that kind of stuff. So let's go back really quick. Test server 2. We're just going to hit Windows. And you'll see the same thing under here. So it kind of is specific to what you're choosing. So for this instance, we're going to use server 2019 base. Verified provider, the description of what you're creating, and then instance type. Again, this is the specs for the server itself. You'll see it's T2.micro. So it's 1 CPU and 1 gig of memory. And then below that is the network settings. So depending on what you're doing or what you're trying to create out of the server, this will be changed up a lot. So if you want to create, a web server or anything like that, you'll click on both of these to allow HTTP traffic over the internet. If you already have a security group created, you want, a certain type of person, or let's say you want sales to only access this, or HR, you'll create whatever security group you're looking for. In this instance, we're just going to have create our automatically. You'll see down here, configure storage. So this is where you can add, all the different storage that you want. Again, for the free tier, it's going to be 30 gigs is the max. So we're going to do 30 gigs. And you can see down here, you can add new volumes. So you can have multiple drives on your servers, and you can change this up after the fact as well. So if you realize that, I took 2 terabytes, but I'm only using like a fifth of that, then you can lower that later. So after we have all of this filled out, you'll see the summary. So again, it's server 2019. It's a T2 micro server. It's creating the new security group, and then we've got 30 gigs of our storage. Oh, okay, yeah. So key pair. Key pair is very important. This is what we're going to use to create our administrator password. And because it's a new server, we're going to create a new key pair. Also, because it's a Windows server, we're going to keep it on PEM. But if you've got something like PuTTY, which is usually for SSH kind of stuff, that's kind of further down the road when you are more when you know more about this kind of stuff. It's not really a beginner's. But we're going to create a new key pair, and we're just going to name this test key 2. We'll leave it on RSA, leave it on PEM, create key pair. You'll see it downloads it automatically for us. And we want to hold on to this. We want to make sure we have this and it's not saved to somewhere where we can't find it. So now everything's done. We're going to hit launch instance. And when you first launch an instance, it usually takes around, it can take a couple minutes to actually launch it. We're going to go, so in the top left here, it's not showing right now, but you'll see these 3 lines, and that's going to open up basically the little console on the left that shows everything. So you'll see we have successfully initiated a launch for this instance. We're going to go to instances. And here we're going to click on it really quick, and you'll see instance ID, the name that we gave it. Instance state, it shows pending because we were just creating it. Now it's actually showing running. So the server is up and running now. You'll see the instance type. There's no alarms that we've set for it. Availability zone is US East 2. Again, that's going to be shown throughout here. It's US East 2, East 1, based off of your region. And then some other things that you won't really need to worry about. But so for this new instance that we just created, you'll see how I've got that little blue check on it. And then in the top right, you have these new features that kind of popped up. So right now you can see connect is kind of grayed out. You can't really do anything. You'll click on your instance. You'll hit connect. We'll do RDP client. Usually when you create a new server, it does take some time to be able to create your admin password as well. So let's see if we stalled enough. The other good thing is that it creates that remote desktop client for you as just a little download. So you'll hit download desktop file, and you'll see you have that under your recents there as well. So now right here where it says get password, this is us creating the password for our administrator account. And the administrator account is the very first account that you're going to log into the RDP with, and you're going to need that. So we're going to hit get password. It looks like we have to wait. So let's look at a few other things, or let's actually, so like I said with regions, we've got this new server that we created in Ohio. And again, EC2 is region specific. So we're going to go to North Virginia. And you'll see I actually have a instance here. And it is stopped. So the way you can actually turn on and off your instances is you can right click. And then you'll see start, you'll see stop, reboot, and hibernate and terminate. So we're going to start that instance really quick. And this was just a server that I created, before, just as a test, to test regions and everything. So that's where you'll want to pay attention and make sure you know which server you want to make sure which region you're in when you made your server, because that's going to be very important. So let's go back to Ohio. And let's see if we stalled enough now. Hit connect again. We're going to do RDP client in the middle there. Let's just go ahead and download one more time. Get password. Beautiful. Alrighty. So here is what you are going to need, that that key that you created, and we have it right down here. So you're going to upload that private key. You're going to decrypt password. And there we go. We got that monstrosity. So we've copied that. We're going to go down to our downloads again, and we see that test server RDP. Going to go ahead and click on that. You'll see this remote desktop connection pop up. You just want to hit connect. And then this is what Windows, again, this is all for Windows, is what you'll see here. You'll just copy that down, and you see the username is already set to administrator. And again, we're copying that that password that we just saved, hitting OK. And because there's no certificates, anything like that, it's the first time you're connecting to a server, you're going to see this always. Don't worry about that. Just hit don't ask again. We don't want to see this. We'll hit yes. And there we go. So because we created it again, it's going to take a little time for the server to kind of start up. So we're going to kind of be looking at this screen for a little bit. But again, because it's free, it's using that micro server. So it's 1 gig of RAM, 30 gigs of storage, and 1 CPU. So it's not ideal for anything if you're trying to work on something. But yeah, this is our brand new server. And we're just going to take a look at Task Manager just to confirm we're getting what we're not paying for. And here you can see you've got this CPU here. And now you can also see the memory. So 1 gig. But yeah, it's that simple. I probably kind of explained things maybe a little too quickly, or maybe not well enough, but super, super easy to create. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign out of it. And if you actually don't sign out, it's going to kind of still be open. So you'll be able to kind of access everything if you log back in. Signing out just gets rid of everything, and it frees up the ability for someone else to use up some resources on it. Because if you are still kind of logged into it, it does still take up resources that could affect someone else that's logged into the server trying to use it at the same time. So now we are going to go back to our PowerPoint. And we're going to talk about a little extra info and learning resources that AWS gives us for free, which is really, really great. We've got AWS Educate, and you can make an account for these. It's all free. It used to be a EDU email that you needed. You no longer need that. You can use any email that you want. So we're going to open up AWS Educate. I got it right here. So AWS Educate, you just create your free account, get signed into here, and you'll see all these different little kind of courses that you can take from AWS to kind of help you out with whatever you're looking for from AWS. And you can kind of filter out what you're looking for. So, we want analytics. So there's these little courses on data analysis, models, transformation, and big data that you can go over. The other one is the AWS Skill Builder. The Skill Builder is going to be a little more in depth with what you're learning. You can see how these are kind of only an hour long, half an hour, that kind of thing. And then you'll see here how these are hour and a half, 2 hours, 4.5 hours. And you can also see that they're free. So not all on Skill Builder are free. But I think a lot of them that you'll need are going to be. There are some where you need a subscription. But yeah, this is where you can come to, learn more about AWS, or, if you have a particular anything that you're looking for, uh, fundamental. So these are going to be all the different fundamental stuff. But that is the explanation on AWS, on cloud computing. Very hopeful that you've learned something. And I'm hoping that you guys can check out AWS Educate and Skill Builder. And you know what? Maybe you'll end up learning more than me. So thank you for your time, and hopefully you guys learned something.
Thanks, Josh. That was a really informative session. Now we can transition into the Q&A portion. So if anyone has any questions for Josh, feel free to
I don't think we can hear you.
Oh,
I think you're muted.
sorry about that. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, sweet. So thanks, Josh, for a very informative session. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat or go ahead and raise your hand and we'll pull you up on stage. We'll get your cloud questions answered. We got a question from Tang.
Hey, Josh. So I have a
Hey.
question. Whenever you're deciding between things like AWS, Azure, or Google's whatever, are you going strictly based on cost, or are you looking for certain features? And excuse me, is there anything that you think will change now that Microsoft is kind of integrating OpenAI a lot more?
So I would say, based off of what I've come across, cost is probably the biggest factor. I luckily have been able to use Azure and AWS, and based off of the similar tools, so luckily they all have similar tools, so any of them will work. The good thing about working with Azure is you get it if you have a Microsoft subscription. So a lot of companies have those, so they get Azure, and it's easier to integrate with what they're doing. AWS, I have noticed, is cheaper, but saying that, you're still able to pay for what you use with cloud. So it's preference, cost doesn't really matter. I mean, it's again, what you're using. But again, AWS is the largest. I think 40% of cloud users use AWS, 20 to 30 use Azure, and then like 10% use Google, and then there's some other fake ones out there.
Any more questions from the audience?
I guess I'll jump back on to do a follow-up. So do you think OpenAI is going to be making a difference, since that'll be kind of a feature that Amazon and Google don't really have? I guess Google has their own AI, it's just not as cool.
I mean, yes, I can see aspects of Azure that are able to use that OpenAI, making it a lot easier. Basically, just saying, "Create this for me," and the AI will do that. AWS, I think, has the same feature. They both have a feature that allows you to create based off of a template, though. So if you've done something before, you can do it again. There's templates out there that other people have created that you can utilize that way. But with OpenAI, it's going to make it a lot easier. Just asking a bot to do it, and it gets done.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I had a question actually. So you're showing the free tier, and it's great because it's free, but you only have that 1 gig of memory. And it's not very powerful. So what are the other options there beyond this free tier?
So there's different options. There's a pay as you go.
Okay.
There's an option to basically, let's say this is your budget. You have $10,000, and that's it.
Okay.
So you've got the ability to create a budget. You've got the ability to pay for what you use. And then you've got the ability of, I want everything and everything, and AWS just charges you whatever. The best option, I guess, for everybody really is pay as you go.
Okay.
So, like I said before, that EC2 instance that we create, let's say you only need it Monday through Friday, and you're only going to be paying for that Monday through Friday.
Okay.
You'll shut it off, which actually reminds me, if you're not using a server and you don't really need it, you want to make sure you turn it off, because if you don't do that, it's going to cost you a lot, and you're not going to understand like why is AWS charging me for all this. You'll go into your your billing, your budget, and you'll see, oh, I had this server on for like a week straight and it's been charging me and I haven't been using it.
Okay. So there isn't like a recurring monthly cost to this. You only kind of, it's just usage based, like you've been saying.
There are monthly costs for certain tools. I
Okay.
will say that.
But if you're just like spinning
And
up
depending,
EC2 instances, there's not gonna be a monthly cost there.
uh, not for EC2. I could be wrong.
Okay.
There's always things that can happen. Um, New tools that you can use, anything like that. AWS, um, they update quite frequently. They update actually so much that sometimes their like help guides aren't up to date. So that's something you also got to kind of watch out for.
Okay, great. Any more questions from the audience? Oh, we got Tang. Come on up, Tang.
I guess so is there a like community on GitHub or something that also makes custom features? Is that something that you can deploy in AWS, or is it kind of strictly whatever Amazon deploys you have to use?
No, you can customize whatever you want with AWS.
Are there like
Okay, so
online repos for different kind of configurations of your EC2 instances?
Online repos.
Um, Kind of like you were customizing the EC2 instance, to set up like this Windows OS, and um, but let's say like, do you know of any like repos where people, they build some service to uh, deploy some software, or some model or something?
Yes,
Are there online, like, do you know of any good repos that people can like steal?
I don't, unfortunately, but AWS, you can. So we just did like the basic version of creating EC2.
Right.
There's other ways you can create that, not the way that we created. You can create it based off of a script, um, to where you just SSH into it, which is
Okay.
kind of just using a code. Um, it's a server that you might not ever RDP into, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but there's resources everywhere. AWS is really good at giving everything, like I mentioned about Educate and Skill Builder, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool. Tang, do you have a follow up?
oh no, that was all for me.
All right, cool. All right. Any last questions from the audience? All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time. Let's give Josh a round of applause, even though you can't hear those in the audience. We have a
I can
post.
hear it. It's so loud.
We do have a post-event survey that I just shared in the chat. So, our goal with this workshop is to kind of make this community more valuable to everyone, both our audience members and our speakers. So, uh, please help us and take less than 60 seconds to give us some feedback on this workshop and future workshops using that link there. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.